Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and this is day 14 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be venison steak, and today is going to be a shoulder and arms training workout. And right now, I'm going to be taking you through the full stretching routine that you're going to perform after you finish training shoulders and arms. Now let's get started. And this brings us to the stretching routine. For the stretching routine, I've got 3 stretches for you guys. We've got one for the anterior deltoid, one for the biceps brachii, and one for the triceps brachii. With regard to the first one, the first stretching exercise is going to be the myofascial stretching exercise for the anterior deltoid. For it, we are going to go and we are going to be in a seated position. We want to be on our knees, and then we want to be in a tall kneeling position. So we're going to be nice and elevated. For this one right over here, we've done this in the past. Let's see if you guys can figure it out before I instruct you guys. What we want to do in this tall position, we want to maintain anteversion of the pelvis. That is going to create greater myofascial tension on the thoracic, on the abdominal cavity, which is going to create greater myofascial tension on the chest cavity, which is going to transfer into the anterior aspect of the shoulder. From this position right over here, we would tuck the chin in, keep the crown of the head up, look down with our eyes to put the dura mater under tension. We would want to get a nice pre-stretch on the anterior deltoid by sticking the manubrium up toward the sky. So we're really opening up the chest. You want to squeeze your shoulder blades together, retract your scapula, lift that chest up to the sky, and then because the anterior deltoid is responsible for flexion, medial rotation, and abduction, we want to do the opposite. We're going to go into extension, lateral rotation, and to induce adduction, we're going to take the opposite arm and we are going to pull it across. To create a little bit more myofascial tension, we're also going to do a lateral bend of the cervical spine by looking away, and an ipsilateral rotation by looking toward the side that we are stretching. But we're going to hold it for 30 seconds starting now. This is an active stretch, so you want to actively be going into extension, lateral rotation, and really pulling across. You could also do some retropulsion of the humerus by pressing your palm down toward the floor. So just imagine that Freddy Krueger has his hands underneath the ground and he's trying to pull you back in the way he did Jason in Jason Goes to Hell. And relax. We're going to do the other side. And if you got that reference, let me know down in the comments section. 30 seconds starting now. So once again, we've got antepulsion of the humerus by pressing down into the ground. Starting from the ground up, we've got anteversion of the pelvis to create the greater myofascial tension on the abdominal and chest cavity, which transfers into the shoulder. We've got extension of the elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. We're pulling the arm across. We're doing a contralateral flexion by bending away from the side that we're stretching with an ipsilateral rotation, rotating toward the side that we are stretching. And rest. We also want to get a nice pre-stretch by actively retracting and depressing the scapula. So we're opening up the chest. Imagine that you're pushing your chest up to the sky. 30 seconds starting now. Really try to pull that arm across to get as much abduction as possible. And really focus on extension of the elbow and wrist too. That extension, the maximum extension of the elbow and wrist, it's going to transfer into the biceps, which is going to transfer into the anterior aspect of the shoulder. And now we're going to rest. Switch sides, 30 seconds, starting now. When you first do these stretches, you may need to pause just to be able to get into position. As you get better, you should be able to just get within the position within 5 seconds. But the way these stretches work is you want to get into the final position before you start the 30 seconds. So if it takes you 15 seconds to set up, it's 30 seconds after the 15 seconds of setup. And rest. Switch sides, 30 seconds, starting now. So really focus, again, on that maximum extension of elbow and wrist and maximum external rotation. It's going to make a world of difference. If you just let your arm flop around and you just bring your arm behind your back, you're not going to get quite as much of a stretch as you would have had you done maximum extension of the elbow and wrist. And one more time. So again, with the maximum extension, you're going straighten out that elbow, press up, and then bring the arm behind you. 30 seconds, last one, starting now. And rest. And that is it for the myofascial stretching exercise for the anterior deltoid. Next, we are going to be doing a myofascial stretching exercise for the long head of the biceps brachii. Remember, when we do the stretching, it's always best to go proximal to distal. So we just did the anterior deltoid. Now we're going to go distally over to the biceps brachii. For the long head is responsible for shoulder flexion because it crosses the shoulder anteriorly. So what we want to do for this one right over here is we are going to be in a seated position. We want the knees flex to roughly 90 degrees. And then similarly to what we did with regard to the anterior deltoid, we want to go into anteversion of the pelvis. That way we get a nice pre-stretch on the abdominal fascia, which is going to transfer into the pectoral fascia, which is going to transfer into the anterior capsule of the shoulder. We also want to stick the chest out. So imagine that you're squeezing your shoulder blades together and down, and you're lifting the manubrium up toward the sky. With the chest, what we're going to do with the head, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. Tuck the chin in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down. This one, we can perform it unilaterally or bilaterally. If you were to perform it unilaterally, all we would do is get into the position and we would do a contralateral flexion with an ipsilateral rotation, same we did for the anterior deltoid. For this one, we're going to do it bilaterally. So the head is just going to be looking straight ahead, and we're going to be doing both sides at the same time. To do that, we want to take a look first at what exactly does the biceps brachii do. The long head is responsible for flexion at the glenohumeral joint, and at the elbow, it is responsible for flexion and supination. So we want to reverse that and go into extension of the elbow, and then we want to go into pronation. So our palm is going to be facing up toward the ceiling. From this position right over here, we are retracting the scapula, pressing down. And then what we would want to do is we want to create a varus force at the elbows. So imagine that your elbows, you are trying to push them out and away from you. 30 seconds, starting now. So again, from the ground up, anteversion of the pelvis, where you got that extension in the lumbar spine, lift that chest up to the sky to create that pre-stretch, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. With the shoulders, maximum extension of the elbows and maximum extension of the shoulders, maximum lateral rotation of the shoulders, maximum pronation of the forearm, and create that varus force. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Varus force at the elbows by pressing out and away from your body. We can also do retropulsion of the humerus, same thing as we did for the last one. So imagine that somebody is yanking your arms down into the ground. We're going to get set up now for set number 2. And 30 seconds starting now. So external rotation, pronation. The external rotation and pronation can be a little bit tricky for some people. You want to get the external rotation set up first before you go into pronation. And you want to try and get your palms or your hands as close together as possible. So see if you can get your thumbs to touch behind your back. Really stick that chest out. So lift the chest up, keep that chin tucked in. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Whenever we do the bilateral exercises, we could always take a little break in between. When we do the unilateral, we could just go from one side to the other because as we switch sides, we're giving the opposite side a break. But when we do the bilateral, it's always good to take a good 10-15 second break. But we are going to go ahead and do the third and final set right now, 30 seconds. So really stick that chest out. Keep that chin tucked in. Squeeze those shoulder blades together as much as you can. Really lift that chest up. Retropulsion, so push those palms down into the floor. For some people, this could be a little bit uncomfortable on the wrists. If it is uncomfortable on the wrists and going into pronation just does not feel comfortable, you could try doing it on your fists instead as a modification. Go. And rest. And that was the myofascial stretching exercise for the long head of the biceps brachii. The third and final stretch is going to be for the long head of the triceps brachii. And this is going to be a PNF stretching exercise. So because it's a PNF stretching exercise, you guys probably know what I'm about to show you. I've got my strength band right over here. I love these for PNF stretching. If you don't have a strength band, you could use a yoga strap, or you could use some type of other thing that you could anchor yourself onto to elicit that PNF response. You could tie a towel to a door handle, use that. For me though, I'm going to be using the strength band. What we want to do is we want to anchor the strength band at a low point. Then from this position over here, we are just going to go ahead, take the band, place it up overhead. The tricep is responsible for the long head of the tricep is responsible for shoulder extension and elbow extension. So we want to create as much shoulder flexion as possible to get a stretch. We're going to do that by walking forward, and ideally we want the humerus in line with the ears or behind. And then to get the elbow flexion, that way we could counteract the elbow extension, we're going to hinge forward. From this position, what we want to do is bring our arms forward and straighten out the arms for 6 seconds. That's going to be the first PNF. After 6 seconds, relax, walk forward to get into flexion, hinge forward to get elbow flexion. So now we've got 10 seconds here. We've got maximum shoulder flexion and maximum elbow flexion, which are the two contrary actions to the triceps long head. We're going to go ahead and we are going to bring the arms forward, straighten out the elbows. So we're actively engaging the triceps. And we're going to, after 6 seconds, relax. So walk forward to get into extension, hinge forward to get the elbow flexion. And we're going to hold this for 10 seconds. We've got one final pass. So bring the arms forward, try and lift your arms up to the sky, engage those triceps. After 6 seconds, relax. Walk forward, hinge forward, and on this final pass, we're going to hold this for 20 seconds. We've got 5 seconds left. And relax. And that was the PNF stretching exercise for the long head of the triceps brachii. That concludes the entire shoulders and arms workout. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything that we did today, drop your comments down below in the comments section. But that is it for today, and that concludes day 14 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. Be sure to like, share, and leave a comment, as it'll help the algorithm. And if you enjoyed the content, show your support by subscribing to the channel by clicking on the icon in the bottom right corner. And if you really want to show your support, then consider becoming a member by clicking on the icon in the bottom left corner. These new high-quality videos aren't cheap to edit, and the $5 membership will really help with the video editing budget. You'll also get access to a ton of exclusive perks like early access to videos and this program design lecture playlist in the top right-hand corner. And if you want to learn how to do a one-armed pull-up, then check out the playlist on the top left corner.